Hello everyone, and welcome to Dev Tricks and Secrets. Today we're going to be taking a look at 20 of them across the World at War series, stretching of course from Nacht or Untoten all the way to Derice. This series is a way to celebrate these fantastic games that at least made my childhood special, and if you love World at War as well, then leave a like down below, it helps me out a ton, and of course make sure to subscribe so you can come back for more, but let's get right into it. So of course everyone who has played Nacht or Untoten knows about this plane sitting here outside the map, and of course there's a decent bit of lore behind this that it crashed, and that's the reason that there's zombies here in Nacht or Untoten, which as most of you guys know, I am not a storyline guy, but that is as much as I know. And it turns out that there's a little bit of a dev trick they had to use with this plane. As you can see, the plane wing is clipping into the ground here, and because of that, if we go on into this tunnel that is a window location normally, we'll see that the plane wing is actually clipping through the ground here. In order to make it not noticeable, the devs had to add some rock textures here that probably weren't originally planned to be part of this tunnel, but they perfectly block the view of this plane from the window. For our next little dev secret, we're taking a look at this staircase here that's outside this window on the top floor. If we go ahead and hop on out, of course, there is full collision here, which is kind of cool to just walk around and see what it would have been like to be able to play here. But the strange part about this little staircase, if we go ahead and hop on top of here and get out of no clip, we can walk on top of them. There's a barrier that just extends this entire little area right here, and it makes you wonder whether they were planning to have this be playable space. There's some rumors in the zombies community, as far as I understand, that they were originally going to have deployable weapons here in zombies, and that this was going to be a little hold-off location for them. Although I have absolutely no idea whether this is true, or if this is just some overlapping barrier that for some reason extends out of the map for absolutely no reason, I don't know. But nonetheless, I do think it is a pretty cool little detail, plus walking out here is just awesome. And then next for Nacht or Untoten, although this isn't exactly outside the map, if you go up to this radio and then knife it, we're met with the first ever music Easter egg of World at War. And lastly for Nacht or Untoten, if we look off into the distance, we can see a big old tree line that just encompasses the entire map. If we use a little bit of no clip and fly on out here, we can see that this tree line is mostly made up of a 2D texture that is just copied and pasted over and over. Of course, the zombies mode itself was kind of an afterthought in World at War, and it wasn't originally going to be even in the game. The developers kind of just snuck it in, and it ended up being a massive hit. So it does make sense that looking at a map this small, there wasn't exactly a lot of resources going into it. The devs tried to make up for this by adding a few 3D trees just floating out here in the air. Even like one right here, which is clearly like halfway under the ground. But either way, I do think the atmosphere of Nacht or Untoten was perfectly fine as it is, even with the limited resources the developers had. What a legendary little map. For the first hidden secret here on Verrückt, I have to mention it. It's this dentist chair. Of course, I'm sure most people who have played this know it, and because of that, if I didn't include it in the video, that would probably be like most of the comments down below. When you walk up to this dentist chair and you interact with it, you hear this. The sound of a drill and a patient screaming. I mean, it's probably the most horrific zombies map we've had to date, and I doubt we'll ever get another one like it. Although I do suppose World War II zombies did kind of err on the side of horror, but it didn't quite hit the mark of this. For our next dev secret here on Verrückt, it's time to talk about some hidden rooms, and our first one is right here next to spawn. If I go ahead and hop on in here, we can see that there is a tiny little room here that's just closed off and forgotten. But that is not anywhere close to our only hidden room here on Verrückt. If we go ahead and go into this door here at the bottom of the staircase, we can see that there is yet another little tiny room here. And although there isn't texturing for this back wall, there is collision. It is there. And again, this room is completely unused. Now, I will say that those two rooms I just showed you are boring compared to what I'm about to show you next. If I enter the first floor of the sanatorium here, we can see there is a massive area here. And simply here, I suppose, for ambiance. Not exactly sure, considering this wasn't even used in the campaign. But it's really cool to be able to walk back here. There's even a wall here separating two areas, kind of like there was going to be something made out of this. As you can see here, the area is certainly used for zombie spawns, but it doesn't need to be nearly this large for that to be the case, so it makes you wonder whether they were planning on having this area be used for something else, or if this room was simply just a little bit of an overestimate by the developers. And for the next hidden room here on Verrückt, if we make our way towards power but take a left instead, we'll find ourselves a huge open space. Unlike the bottom floor, which I just showed you, this area was used for the campaign. There was a mounted MG42 here pointing at this doorway. So it's much more likely that this area is just a relic of the past, and it does extend over here as well. If I go ahead and use a little bit more no-clip, we can see that there's a window location here in the middle that connects to the kitchen area, and the unused area extends further on over here. Kinda cool to see what they do with some assets here that they didn't end up needing, but I guess they just didn't really want to delete it all. Very similar to the area that I just showed you guys, there's another one right here above spawn. If I go ahead and hop on through here, we can see there's a big old area that just extends above the entire first floor here. And just like that last one, this was used in the campaign, and here in Zombies, its only use is for one window location right here, and another one right here. Other than that, this entire area really serves no purpose here in Zombies whatsoever, and a lot of the textures have changed from the campaign as well, which make you wonder whether they were planning on having this be an area that you could train around from over here, perhaps, through and then down to the staircase over there. But again, it is quite likely that this is just some leftover assets from the campaign, but man, would it have been cool. And for our next dev secret here in Verrückt, if I go ahead and go under the ground right here, we'll see a whole bunch of deployable weapons just in a line here. We got the bar, of course, the Browning, the MG42, and the FG42, all in pairs of 3. So I'm not exactly sure the significance of this. You can't pick them up. There's no way to interact with them. A lot of rumors online seem to be saying that this was left over from dev testing for bipoded, like, mounted weapons, right? And that was going to be a thing here in Verrückt. Which I suppose does kind of make sense, considering there's a bar here with a bipod, and when you use it, well, there's no way to actually mount it. It's very possible that the developers just found this unwieldy, or perhaps completely unuseful in a game like Zombies, where they're just gonna come up behind you and kill you anyway. So they may have just scrapped it, and there's just a whole bunch of these guns chilling here under the ground, waiting for us to find here later. But that is not the only thing hidden underground. For our next dev secret, if we make our way outside to the courtyard here and hop on inside the fountain, we'll find that there is an MG42 that we can mount, and we can also shoot. I mean, if this is not evidence enough that they were working on bipoded weapons, well, I don't know what to tell you. It seems that the MG42 is mounted on top of this, like, black pillar, which I'm not exactly sure why that is. Perhaps they were thinking about using it instead of this fountain and having it in the middle, some way that you could get on it and shoot a bunch of zombies here in the courtyard with it, and, I mean, that would have been awesome. Another possibility is it was just going to be a trap itself, that you could somehow activate it and it would just shoot zombies for you. This was, after all, the first map that had zombies traps altogether. So it does kind of make sense that they were messing around with an MG42 trap, although it could just be here from testing and development. Yeah, and just in case you didn't know, the zombies here on Verrückt are literally on crack. Look at this. Straight up teleporting into the air to get me. I think they have commando on, man. Can't get me now, can ya? Oh, this guy's still trying. What the hell, man? For our first dev secret here on Shinonuma, it has to do with how the perks work. And as I'm sure everyone who has played Shino knows, the perks are randomized, and when you walk up to a hut, it seems that the perk just shuffles through all the options and one lays down. But as we can see here, if we come a no-clip outside the map, without opening any doors, these perks are actually decided at the very start of the match. For example, if I buy this door right here at the Flogger, and that opens on up, and now the map, of course, knows that I can get to this area, and then we walk up to the fishing hut just like I did a second ago, we'll see that that Juggernog machine is no longer there. But if I do buy the door, it'll shuffle through the perks, and of course, give us Juggernog. And what's kind of interesting about this is the trigger that makes the perk machines go away is shared. It simply is just the player needs to buy one door out of this spawn building. It doesn't matter which one. So if just like before, I buy this door under the Flogger that goes towards the fishing hut, and then I turn myself around and use a little bit of no-clip here just to make my way all the way to Storage Hut here where Speed Cola was, we'll see that the perk machine has disappeared. And just in case you were wondering, there is no interaction with the perk machine while the door is closed. I can't buy it, unfortunately, but it does still have collision. And for our next dev secret here in Shinonuma, if we go ahead and hop out this window right here, we can make our way over towards this bridge that leads out of the map. And it actually has a barrier on it, which is kind of strange. But if I hop on over that and make our way to the hut, we can see that on the wall, it says Tunguska, which is probably not how you pronounce it, but I mean, there's no way you could see this from inside the map. Clearly, the only way you could find this is by no-clipping. And what's even cooler about this little detail is the Tunguska Event is a real thing that actually happened. In Siberia, Russia, a massive meteor came down, crashed into a forest, and devastated the entire area. And of course, here on Shinonuma, if we go ahead and go outside the map, we find a meteor that has crashed down to Earth. Now, obviously, Shinonuma does not take place in Siberia, Russia. I think the only map that really seems like it might is Call the Dead, and a lot of people think that that Easter egg is hinting at Call the Dead, although I highly doubt that Call the Dead was in the works here while Shinonuma was being produced. I really think that Tunguska Easter egg is simply trying to hint at the fact that these meteors falling from the sky is supposedly what is creating the zombies here in World at War, because to me, that is the only thing that would make sense. But let me know down in the comment section what you guys think, because honestly, I'm still undecided. The meteor here outside the map seems to just be like some charred piece of wood. At least that's what it looks like texture-wise. And it has no collision, but it does have some effects going on. A bunch of electricity coming out here into the water, and of course, this orange haze around it. And oh my god, it looks a lot better when it's not dog round. For some reason right now, the rounds are just going all the way into dog round. Like, look at this. It's round 10. Now it's round 11, right? Normal. Completely normal. And then now it's round 12. And now, of course, it's round 13, as it just changes again without spawning a zombie. So I'm not sure what's going on here. I think I just broke the game somehow, but kind of funny to point that out as well. And here come the dogs. Seems like that's the only thing the game wants to spawn at the moment. For our first dev secret here on Derice, if we go ahead and look out this window, we can see that there is a teddy bear shadow just casted across this wall. And it turns out the way that they did this is simply by having an actual teddy bear model just floating in front of a light source, and the zombies, well, they spawn here around the corner from that and walk around it. Which, this is just a super cool little space, and I shouldn't say little because it seems to extend a lot further than it would ever need to. And the next little dev secret, if we go ahead and hop on over here, of course, I'm sure most of you guys remember this little paw print, which if you look at it and you press the interact button, this happens. Which, yeah, not super impressive, but even though that's the case, it was probably the main talk of the community when this map first came out. A lot of people thought that was a way to upgrade Juggernog, which I don't think is the case. I'm pretty sure that didn't actually work. Although, correct me if I'm wrong, because, I mean, I definitely have been before. But the interesting part about this for this series is that this is not the only dog print around the map. There's actually a bunch more. For one, if we make our way to the Thompson room here and go through this window, we'll find an open room here at the bottom of the furnaces. But not only that, in this back corner, we'll find 2 paw prints just sitting here on the wall, which seemingly have no purpose whatsoever. So I don't know why they're here. This area that I'm standing in is simply just a location for zombies to spawn and then come on out towards that window, so why have paw prints back here, especially considering there's no way you could ever see it from that window? I don't know. But there is more than just that. If we make our way towards this teleporter and go out the window right here, we can find ourselves another set of paw prints just chilling on the wall. Which, unlike the last one, these you actually could see from the window, although again, it doesn't seem like they're here for any purpose. When I interact with them, nothing really happens. And just to top it all off, although this is not a dog print, if we go through this window here in spawn, we'll see some like writing on the wall, which seems to be in a different language. I don't know what this is. Like, what are these characters? Perhaps some of you guys who have done Easter eggs know, and you can let me know down in the comments section. But it ties in well with the next place that we're going, which is all the way over here into this building. As we enter it, we can see it says Teddy is a liar here on the wall with a little sad face. There's also some more writing here that's kind of cut off at the bottom that just says Teddy is the biggest liar. And around the corner, if we look at this wall, there's this, which seems to be some of the characters that we found on that wall just a second ago with an H in front of it. So I'm guessing this is supposed to read help. On the floor in this room is a field operations manual for Group 935, as well as this hanging body, which you can see kind of through this little window. And it turns out that hanging body here is actually just the legs, I suppose, of some soldier tied to the ceiling, which it does have physics to him, which is kind of cool. Nice. Where is the gun that I want? From the list we're going through, there's monkey bombs, but there's still no wonder why. Bum, that's the third MG42, but we haven't found the gun that I'm looking for yet. So where is the Wunderwaffe? The Wunderwaffe. The Wunderwaffe DG2. For our next dev trick, we're going to go ahead and have to go underneath the map and over here, which we'll find a big old black box. If you've watched my series Outside enough, you'll know that this black box is most certainly a teleporter room. As you can see, there's this little purple animation that is just constantly playing inside of it. The way that this works, if you go ahead and use a teleporter such as this one, it will teleport you first to this black box where the animation plays, and then finally to the mainframe here. And as you can see, there are 4 of them, one for each of the players on the map. And although it might not be the most interesting thing in the world, after all, it is just a black box, I just think it's really cool how simple this is. I mean, I always thought as a kid when I played this map that it was something completely different going on, and sure enough, it's just a black box here outside the map. And for our next little dev trick, this one is kind of stumping me, but if we go under the map over here, we'll find ourselves a brick wall. This seems to me, at least, to be one of the window locations that would normally be like along a wall where the zombies just take off one piece at a time. Instead of there being wooden boards, it's just pieces of a wall. But for seemingly no reason, there's one right here under the map, which, if you just want to put this in perspective, it's right next to this teleporter room through this wall. I got 2 guesses at what this could be used for, one of which is perhaps this door right here, which has a bunch of paw prints leading towards it, was originally going to be a playable space, and that this right here is simply just a leftover window location. But what is more likely is it's just some unused asset that's sitting there underneath the map and was going to be, perhaps, a window location somewhere around the map, but just never made it into the final build. And as an extra little dev secret, right here on this clock, you can see that it reads 1:15, which, of course, is a little hint at Element 115, something that has made it into the storyline and has been extremely present ever since World at War. For this next dev secret, I'm going to have to pack a punch, so let me just go ahead and do that real quick. Put my MG42 into the machine and, get back my beautiful Barracuda. Oh my god. Is it just me, or was World at War Pack-a-Punch camos the best Pack-a-Punch camo that has ever existed? I mean, there's nothing better than this. You're welcome to have a different opinion, but you're wrong. But alright, the dev secret that I'm trying to show you guys is right out here with this little structure. It turns out that this structure is supposed to be a recreation of what the Germans actually made in the 1940s. which I just find insane that the developers actually included that here in World at War. And not only that, alongside a little Easter egg, which is commonly referred to as the Flytrap Easter egg, named after its real-life counterpart. And before you activate this Easter egg, you can come out here and look along the ground. There is a few things scattered about, such as a Pack-a-Punch 1911 right there. We got some teddy bears here and there, as well as a Bowie knife stuck in the ground. There's even a monkey bomb and a perk bottle. Good old Juggernog just chilling right here on the soil. And of course, what's awesome about this, using mods, I can come out here and get to see this up close and personal. Those models all just come up from the ground, spin around in a circle, and then go flying across the map, where they eventually despawn. And that little Easter egg, of course, starts the hide-and-seek Easter egg. We have our little teddy bears around the map that we gotta find and shoot. Which, I mean, as far as I understand, there's really no reason to do this. Although what is kind of interesting to note about them is all those models we saw around the ground are the ones that are used for these teddy bears that we're finding. I mean, I suppose one of them isn't even a teddy bear that we're finding. It's literally just a monkey bomb. But as you can see, here is that Pack-a-Punch 1911 in this guy's hand, along with the Juggernog bottle. And lastly for Derice, if we go ahead and fly up in the air, we can go to the moon. Which, the moon on this map is an actual 2D model floating out here in space, which I just find awesome, because this is the only map on World at War that has this as a feature. And not only that, but if we look real close to it, it seems like there's actually some light here, which I'm guessing is supposed to be Griffin Station, but again, this is World at War. This is pretty far ahead of its time, so not exactly sure. Also, I remember an Easter egg from my childhood looking up at this and there being a paw print here, but looking at it now, I don't see one, so I don't know what that is about either. But it definitely is really cool being able to just fly right on through the moon and seeing what's going on here. It seems like the devs just put a bit of light here at the bottom to give it that glow to it, and other than that, it's simply just a 2D texture. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is it for this Dev Tricks and Secrets episode. I hope you guys enjoyed, and as always, let's celebrate the development of these fantastic games that, at least for me, certainly made my childhood. And I'm sure the same could be said for a lot of you guys as well. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like down below. It helps me out a ton, and of course, make sure you're subscribed so you can come back for more. But with that being said, that's all I have for you guys here today, and if you want to watch more of my content, you can click one of the videos here on the screen, but if not, I'll catch you in the next one. Stay awesome, and peace out.